Hello everyone, welcome to the Departmental Lore Torum. My name is not Max, and today I'd like to talk to you about power armor.
Hello everyone, as you can tell, I'm once again joined by my lovely girlfriend, and in this video we're going to be ranking all of the different types of Space Marine power armor. The Primarch ranking video is coming, but there are like 70 books of lore on the Primarchs and their legions, so it's going to take some time to condense it all for her, unless, would you like to read all those books?
I'm good.
Yeah, so that'll be here eventually, but for now, since there's a new edition of IV Heresy that was bringing some new armor types to the tabletop, and the fact that recent releases have seen the reintroduction of some older armor pieces to the Primaris range, I thought it'd be a good idea to rank all the different marks of Space Marine power armor on their aesthetics. We're only going to be taking a look at Space Marine power armor, no Custodes or Sisters of Battle or any other factions or anything like Dreadnoughts or Centurions, and we're only going to be looking at the basic marks, no custom armor or chapter or unit specific variants. Otherwise, we will be here all day.
Since I'm new to Warhammer and haven't seen most of these armors before this video, it'll be a different perspective. For each mark, he'll give them a short introduction, going over their brief history and what they were used for, and then we'll give them a grade from A to F, just the standard American grading system, with maybe a plus or minus if needed.
As I said, we're going to be basing our ranks on aesthetics and how much we'd actually want to wear the armor, not on in-universe or in-game stats. An F for us is like a I'd never wear this or put it on any of my minis, and an A is perfect, I love it, I might even buy a box of it to get more of its helmets. Since we're different people, we're going to have different opinions, but in the end we'll try to compromise and find one grade each of us can agree on. But just for some extra fun, we will each have one S ranking that we can give to one mark of armor. This essentially functions as an I win button. We can use it to override the other's choice without any argument, which I'm sure won't cause any problems.
Yeah, okay.
Also, these are just going to be our opinions on each armor, which means they're 100% correct, and you really shouldn't even waste time arguing about them.
Actually, you should argue about them, and also take personal offense to every single opinion Max has.
Not you though, right?
No, yeah, mine are infallible.
Okay, before we get started, I just wanted to let you know that I recently added memberships to the channel. You can get access to some cool perks like members-only polls, shoutouts and videos, thank you Wolfrey for joining, and early access to all my videos. Of course, there's no obligation to join, but if you enjoy my content, please check it out. Now, without any further ado, let's get started with the first mark of power armor, Mark I Thunder Armor. This was originally worn by the Emperor's Thunder Warriors in the Unification Wars on Terra, and some very early Space Marines also made use of it. It's very primitive compared to later marks, it's not fully environmentally enclosed, they have a lot of open-faced helmets as you can see, and only the upper body was actually powered. Probably the most notable thing about it is its lightning detailing, as that was the symbol of the Emperor at the time, and it was made specifically for close quarters fighting on Terra or other similar planets.
So, some of the art is cool, but when I look at the less stylized depictions of the models, it's ugly. So, I'll give it a C.
That's generous. I was around the C or D range too. I can meet you at a C. I think a C is fair for it. It's the first mark. You know, it's not going to be perfect. I love the little lightning detailing. I think that's cool, but really that's the only thing about it that stands out from later marks. I kind of hate the helmet, and I don't really like the riveted plates. I think that they just don't really work with it. It makes it look a little stupid to me.
I didn't think those were lightning. They look kind of just more like squiggles. I'm not personally a fan of them. I think if they were just straight, I think it would be fine. For some reason, the fact that it's wavy just looks weird to me, especially because they're arrows. In some of the art pieces, the armor looks cool, and when you look at the model, it just looks weird. Very 80s cartoon, which I'm just not a fan of.
Yeah, so the art she's talking about is, of course, John Blanche. It is official art. He is maybe the greatest Warhammer artist of all time, and he is a really stylized artist. I think almost all of his stuff looks good. He could make anything look fantastic, but yeah, the basic stuff, a bad 80s cartoon is good, and I think C tier. C is perfect for it. So let's move on to Mark II Crusade Armor. This was the main power armor type used by the Space Marine legions in the early Great Crusade. Now we have finally reached a fully enclosed and fully powered suit of armor, made of rings of overlapping ceramite, not just full plates. It had the internal senses, like the auto systems that would become standard later on, and the helmet is no longer open-faced, but a much more knightly look. So yeah, what's your opinion on it?
All I have written here is Buckethead. And then I wrote, why are the pauldrons so long? And I feel like that perfectly summarizes my opinion on them. And there's really nothing like special or not distinct, but just like nothing that's catching my eye about them. And some of the models I'm looking at, they look cool. The Iron Warrior one looks cool. I think all 4 of these models look cool. It's just like the standard art of the armor to me looks ugly. So with that, I gave it a D.
Yeah, so what she's talking about are the new models released. She's comparing that to the older art in the older codices for it. And yeah, I have to say, going based off just the older depictions, it does look kind of dumpy and kind of just stiff and uncomfortable looking. But I feel the new articulation given to it makes it really stand out. I really like the knightly helmet. I think that looks really nice. The ceramite rings on the legs just kind of look off to me. I'm not a big fan of them. What do you think of them?
Reminds me of a caterpillar.
Maybe, in a little way, yeah, kind of. Also, it comes across really well in art. So I would actually kind of give it more of a B. Do you think that's okay, or do you want to go a little lower for it?
No, that's fine.
Okay, so first B tier, I think it's fine. I'm glad that it exists. All right, moving on to the Mark III Iron Armor. This is a variant of the Mark II armor made for fighting in tight enclosed spaces like ships and tunnels, originally against the Squats or Votan. It's very similar to the Mark II armor, but now with thicker sloped front armor plates and helmets to deflect incoming fire at the cost of some less rear armor. So I'll start with the Mark III. I think it's just better Mark II. I like the plates a lot more than the rings, and I think the helmet is kind of the same thing, but still cool. I like the little spike they've added onto the top of it. It makes it look very like martial. And I just think, yeah, it's a cooler version of it. It looks a lot more knightly, which I already said that I liked. And it's a shame that it does have less rear armor, because I really feel like this is the perfect like Crusade type of power armor.
I think it looks cool, but I would say that some renditions of it make it look doofy. The standard art for it is better than the previous one, but some of the models I'm looking at, they look okay. I'm not like particularly impressed. Not like the painting, just like the armor, like talking about the armor specifically. There's one piece of art that I really do like with that armor, but the rest of them kind of are like meh.
What ranking do you think you're going to give it?
So I gave it a B.
Okay, I was really thinking an A, so do you think maybe B plus, meet in the middle there?
Sure, yeah.
We're really agreeing so far. I like this. We're not too far off. Moving on to the Mark IV Maximus pattern. This was an upgrade over the previous ones. It incorporated a lot of new technology discovered in the Great Crusade, and was the first one to use all ceramite plates instead of rings. It had a new helmet with like a sloped, snouty faceplate, better for deflecting fire. And this was the most advanced mark commonly available at the start of the heresy, so Horus made sure that all the legions that sided with him had a larger supply of it compared to the loyalist legions. Interestingly, while all marks of power armor are used by modern Space Marine chapters, this is where we start to see it be more commonly used as relic armor, where the older Mark I, II, and III suits are a little bit rarer to see. So your thoughts, what do you think of Mark IV?
To me, it looks very bland.
Okay, see, to me the problem with it is not that it's too bland. I guess maybe with the basic body armor, there's not really much that's not done identically by later marks of armor. But I feel like the face is way too distinct and not in a good way. Even in the pieces of art I like, I don't really like the helmet.
So like in the standard depiction for it, the helmet looks horrible, but in other images, I think that it looks really cool. There's one that the helmet kind of looks like Plo Koon to me. And then there's others that I also think they just look cool. And then there's others besides the standard depiction that I think they look horrible in, so.
Yeah. What do you think of the models?
Stubby.
Yeah, I would say I think that pretty much this one suffers from pretty much everything about it being done better by later marks of armor. Like the helmet, the general design is done better. This is kind of a spoiler for, I guess, my opinions, but done better by the Mark X. And the whole idea of just like a more snout-like protrusion for the helmet is done way better by the Mark VI. So I feel like this one's kind of left in the dust, and I would give it like a low C tier, I think. You know, it's not the worst, it's not doing anything awful, but it's just so bland.
Yeah, I gave it a D because it made me mad.
I think that's a little bit cruel. I mean, the D is like, it's not like doing anything evil. Why'd it make you mad?
Because I was like struggling to figure out what was distinct about this armor from the other ones. Because all the images I was looking at, like, they looked different. So I was like, you know what? This deserves a D.
Okay.
But we can compromise. Like, I don't care.
No, I'll go D for inconsistency. I'll let you have that one. I don't really care about it. So we'll give this one a D.
Okay.
Now, Mark V Heresy, this is a piece of armor that I feel is saved by one element, but let me get into the lore for it first. During the Horus Heresy, many of the legions weren't fully equipped with Mark IV armor, so the Mark V arose as retrofits and battlefield repairs for older and damaged suits were done, and then that was replicated in production. The most notable thing about it is probably the molecular bonding studs that were added to hold and strengthen the armor. The helmet looks like a later Mark VII with little mandibles kind of on the side of the faceplate. It was often a little bit slower and heavier due to, the less than ideal conditions of its creation, and many were used for spare parts after the heresy, but some chapters, like the Carcharodon, still make use of it, as do many Trader Marines. So I think the most striking piece of this armor is definitely the rivets, and I think that is what saves it for me, because the helmet, it's fine. The helmet, I have the same problem with it that you had for the Mark IV. It kind of looks different in every depiction. And I don't really like it too much, even in the best of times.
I just genuinely hate the jowls, and the studs on the helmet look really stupid. It looks like welts from getting hit on the head.
I love the studs.
No. The studs on the pauldrons and the legs are fine. The studs on the helmet look really dumb.
Do you like the crotch studs?
Oh, I didn't even see those. Weird, diseased almost.
Well, maybe for the Emperor's children, we don't know what they get up to, but I think the studs look cool. I think that's the saving grace of this armor for me. I think that's the coolest part about it. The helmet, the mandibles aren't the worst thing. Like, I like it more than I like the Mark IV helmet or the Mark I and maybe even the Mark II helmets, but they kind of just look a little puffy. They do look a little jowly.
I also don't understand the cross sections cut out of like the thigh. What is that? Is that like some kind of flexible like under armor thing?
I think you're talking about the power cabling. They weren't able to enclose that yet.
Yeah, that's weird and also very bad design.
No, I love it. You gotta forgive it. It was made in a bad time. I like the Mark V suit. I think I have a soft spot for it. The studs, honestly, alone, I would put it in B for that.
I gave it a D, but I would be willing to move it to a D+. C-.
A D+. Wow, could I convince you up to a C+? Because you gotta love the studs. Come on.
No, I'm gonna stand firm on this.
Well, then I guess I'll take C-, because that looks like the best that I can get, and I don't love it enough to use my S tier on it. But let's move on now to the OG Mark VI Corvus pattern armor, which was originally developed as a replacement for Mark IV armor, and it was used during the end of the Horus Heresy, and it's actually still used up until modern 40k. Its most notable feature is definitely its beaked helm, and it does have a little bit of a sleeker design with less trim, enclosed cabling, and it is very easy to repair and is interchangeable with several other marks. You might even see the helmet or other pieces with a different type of armor. It's also the lightest armor made to that point, and is popular with assault marines and chapters like the Raven Guard, whose Primarch, Corvus Corax, it's actually named after. As I said, this was the OG Space Marine armor, first used back in Rogue Trader in the 80s, and it is the source of the Space Marine's Beaky nickname, which you might hear some groups like Orcs call them. What are your thoughts on Mark VI?
I said they were okay. I like the armor better than a lot of the ones that we've seen before. The beak is cute.
How do you think of sort of the older looking art compared to some of the newer models and depictions?
The older art for this one I actually don't mind. The newer depictions, some of them look really long and lanky. Not sure if that was on purpose. I mean, yeah, it's fine. The models look good though, like the painted models. That's kind of what's carrying these.
I would agree. I think this is one of my favorite suits. I don't think, again, it's quite S tier, but I'm going to give it an A. I really love the sleeker design. I think the lack of trim works really well, especially for chapters like, again, the Raven Guard. I love the beaked helmet. It is probably the best version of that in a long time. And especially if you go old school Rogue Trader, you put some fangs or flames on the side of that. Now you're booming. And yeah, I just love it.
I gave it a B, but I'd be willing to compromise.
Compromise at an A with me? You know, that's what compromise is, right?
Let's meet in the middle at a B+.
A-.
Fine.
Okay, there we go. A-. There we go. That's perfect for him. Let's move on to the one, the only Mark VII Aquila Armor. This is the iconic Space Marine armor. It's so iconic, they made a statue of it. It was developed in universe at the end of the Horus Heresy and has remained in use for 10,000 years by every Space Marine chapter, and was the most common armor in the pre-Primaris era. Most notable features are the snub-nosed frowning helmet and the presence of an Aquila or chest decoration as standard for the first time ever, which gave it its name. It is also very interchangeable and has many different unique variations. I love this armor. This is the iconic Space Marine armor to me. We'll get into my thoughts on the Primaris armors later, but I'll just basically spoil it and say I like them, but this to me was, the first Space Marine I was introduced to, so I am of course biased. I think the Aquila is great. I love the little frowny face helmet. I think it is so perfect and 40k, and that little over-the-top flourish. It's been a constant presence in art and everything, and even, recent models have started bringing the helmet back, so we're going to see more of it. So what do you think? I'm certain you love it just as much as I do.
All I have written here is, why are the pauldrons massive? What I'm referencing is, in some of the models, in all of the models, the proportions make it look like the pauldrons take up a quarter of the, height of the Marine. I don't know if I'm crazy for thinking that. It was very distracting. In the standard depiction, the standard art for the armor, it looks fine sort of, but in the armor it's very weird.
No, you're absolutely crazy because they look beautiful. But yeah, it's all of these armors have massive pauldrons. That's Space Marine armor. That's the whole deal. And it's just they're older scale Marines. They're in a different scale than the modern ones, so they have more exaggerated proportions. I mean, I love them. It's they've got big old shoulders. It's protecting them.
I'm not saying that other ones don't have the massive pauldrons too, but it's the specific proportions here that look very off.
You have no appreciation for the classics, no appreciation for the true classics.
I mean, we're talking about armor and proportions here, so I feel like this should be brought up.
It should only be brought up with armor that I hate, and armor that I like should be praised. Well, this is known. But no, I see what you're saying. To be realistic, they have moved on and gone for a more true scale proportion, so it can look a little weird going back to the older stubby Marines. But again, I do like the larger pauldrons, and I think the overall armor design is just very good. It's very clean. You have a nice little bit of trim and decoration without it being too overwhelming. And what do you think of the helmet? I really like the little frowny face.
It kind of gives Zurg from Toy Story.
I guess I can see that. Maybe paint him purple, but I loved Zurg, so I love these guys. I think they deserve an A+. I'm not going to give them my quite S tier. I want to save that for later, but I think they deserve an A+.
I would give them a C, maybe C-. I don't know. It's kind of also has the issue where it's I'm having trouble figuring out what's different. Obviously the things you mentioned in the beginning were the differences, right? But when you look at this armor and then look at other armor, sometimes it's what is the difference, So that's why it's not very distinct.
Okay, that is interesting because to me, as someone who has been a Warhammer fan for a long time, these are very distinct, but it is interesting sort of seeing how someone who's just coming in recently, they all sort of blend together. And we're going to get to this in another few sections, but I think that is something that newer 40k does do a little better, is making the armor a little bit more discernible, especially for, a new player at a distance.
I mean, I don't think you should expect a new player to be able to distinguish oh, this armor is from this armor. At the end of the day, it's not a big deal because you'll gravitate to what pieces of armor you like the most, the features and stuff. But to an outside person, they all kind of blend together.
Okay. So we're giving this an A+, right?
We can go B.
Could you do a B+?
No.
Okay. I'll take a B. Like I said, I want to save my S tier, but in my heart, they're an A. Let's get on to Mark VIII Errant Armor. This was the first power armor that was developed post-Heresy, and it incorporates extra armor for the joints and cabling, including a raised collar to protect the neck joints. This does make the helmet less interchangeable with other marks, however. It is relatively rare and was mostly found in more well-equipped chapters and among Death Watch veterans. I fucking hate this. I despise this. And you might think that's weird because it is literally just Mark VII with a raised collar. But to me, that completely ruins it. He looks like a Space Marine who was going off to school and his mom pulled his little coat up and sent him out and now he looks like a dweeb. I hate it so much. I'm just gonna F tier. I hate this thing.
To me, they look like flak jackets, like with the really high, with the raised neck. And then also in some depictions, they are very cylindrical. Yes. And that's very just kind of ugly. So I would probably give this a D, C minus.
Okay, I don't understand why you don't hate this like I do, because I think this is just the ugliest thing ever. Like, even the Mark I armor just looked old. This one just actively is like a bad design to me.
Yeah, like, I don't have like the emotional investment that you have, but I would be willing to give it an F. Like, I don't care.
You're not a nerd like me, but if you'll take an F, I will happily take an F. I hate this. I'm glad it's dead. Thank God Mark X killed it.
Well, I'm a nerd, but the things I like are better than this, so.
So, moving on to Mark IX armor. It doesn't exist. This is another thing. I have no clue. They pulled a Microsoft and skipped it for Mark X. Why? It was so consistent, and it doesn't even get a mention, unless I missed something, which is possible, but I could not find anything on Mark IX armor. And it's like, it'd be so easy to write like, oh, this was a failed experiment, or it was something Belisarius Cawl incorporated into Mark X, or something like that. And it's so weird that it's just been this gaping hole in the lore for almost a decade now.
Zichi and trickery, no doubt.
That's as good a justification as any. So let's just ignore Mark IX armor, like GW obviously has, and go on to Mark X armor. So this is the newest power armor in the setting, developed by Belisarius Cawl for his Primaris Marines. In the post-era Indomitus, or after 8th edition in real-world terms, this is the most common type of power armor. It is larger than the previous armors and combines useful traits and technology from all the prior marks, and is very modular. It can feel like each unit has its own different type of armor. We can break Mark X down into some more common variants, which are essentially their own marks of power armor on their own, and we'll be ranking those. And we'll start with Mark X Tacticus pattern armor. This is the sort of default version of it. It's used by like intercessors, assault intercessors, regular space marines, and is kind of the medium armor. Looks like a more scaled up Mark VII with a little bit of extra knee pad protection and a faceplate more similar to a flat Mark IV. I really like it actually. I've come around a lot. I didn't really like it when it was first introduced, but I think the Mark IV style faceplate being flat actually saves it a lot and makes it look a little bit more knightly than like a kind of little snoot. This is a sort of separate thing, but it is significantly easier to paint than an old school Firstborn Space Marine. I've tried painting a Tactical Marine and an Intercessor, and you'll see what I mean. And I like the trim, I like the detailing, I like the little bit of extra knee armor. It feels like, you know, just a little bit of extra flair there. And it's a good default. I'd give it like a B+, maybe an A-. It's not perfect, but it's definitely nice.
So, to me, it feels like a variation on the Maximus armor. Taller, like sleeker. The helmet kind of looks like General Grievous.
You're just making me like it more.
I don't really have anything against this armor. It just feels like it was reheating the Maximus nachos.
See, I get that. That's kind of what I thought at first, but I feel like it does do things better and has a lot more flair than the Maximus armor. But if I could say one thing, I kind of wish if they wanted to go with a different helmet style, they had maybe tried to do more of like a remixed beaky helmet. I think that would have been really cool and a cool nod to Warhammer's history as well. But what do you think your rank for these would be?
Could give it like a B or a C.
Would a B+ be good?
Yeah.
Okay, B+. I think that's good. It's a good showing. And I think it's aged really well, and I've liked all of the variants they've done with it. Which, moving on, let's go to probably the least well-known Mark X variant, the Omnis Armor. It is only used by suppressors. And yeah, what do you think of this?
From the waist down, they kind of remind me of Transformers. The photos I'm looking at don't really allow you to see them up close, like unobstructed, so it's kind of hard for me to say anything about them. A lot of the pictures I have seen don't really have a clear view of the torso, so I don't know if I can really say much about that. I just know like the legs and the like boots jumped out immediately just because like that's very visible. I don't really have an opinion of these. I do like how chunky the boots are, so I give it a B.
See, this is another one where I kind of feel the opposite. I feel like this has some of the worst bits of all of the other types of Mark X armor. I don't like how chunky the boots are. I kind of hate the whole Primaris like rocket sled thing they do when they fly. It makes them look like a bad video game enemy. And then the helmet is fine. It doesn't really do anything for me. It just kind of is very bland and ugly for the bits you can see, because a lot of it is blocked by the gun. but I can see why they didn't really ever follow up on this design or do anything with this. I would honestly give it a D. I think it kind of sucks.
I feel like the proportions here are like cartoony as well, but for some reason I don't dislike it. Here it's very like stylized. I'd be willing to compromise. I really don't have any strong opinions on this.
Okay, yeah, we can. Let's meet in the middle at a C. I don't really care about it at all. I can see why they never followed up on it. But moving on to one that I like a bit more is the Phobos Armor. This is the lighter, stealthier type of armor, which was used by Vanguard and infiltration forces, a lot more slimmed down, a lot quieter, a lot less bulky armor and pauldrons. What did you think about it?
I really like it. It's very different. It's nice to see something that's not very chunky for once. Nothing against the chunky aesthetic. It's just nice to see something else for once. Yeah, I like it a lot. It kind of gives Master Chief.
Yeah, I can see that, and that is actually, this is different. That's kind of my least favorite thing about this, because when I play Warhammer, I don't want to be playing as John Halo. I want to be playing as John Warhammer, so the sleeker thing is kind of for me, but I do personally understand and I'm happy that it exists, because there are definitely chapters that are better served by having this, and units that are better served by having this. And I have come around on it. I think it looks good. It's not what I want out of Warhammer. So I would probably give it more of like a C-ish. What do you think you'd give it?
I would give it an A.
Okay. I'll meet you in the middle. How about a B, or do you want to go a bit higher than that?
A minus.
Okay, A minus. Again, it's not for me, but I can easily see how somebody would really like them. And like I said, they have grown on me. I don't hate them at all. It's just not what I want in Warhammer personally. Let's move on, though, to Scout Armor, which is not technically power armor, but I felt like I should include it because it's the first type of armor that any Space Marine will wear. So this is Carapace Armor. It is unpowered. It is meant for moving stealthily and sneakily as the Space Marine gets behind enemy lines during his training and adjusts to his implants, and it's only replaced by powered armor once they get their last implant, the Black Carapace, which allows them to interface with the armor. I mean, I think it's fine. It's a bit hard to rank with all the others because it is so different, but I just wanted to mention it. But I'd say it's probably a B. There's nothing really that stands out about it for me, but it's fine for what it is.
Yeah, I have no opinion on them, so I'm fine with whatever you think.
I win by default. That's how I win most of these arguments. So a B it is. But now on to the last of the quote-unquote regular power armors. We have the Mark X Gravis Armor. This is the heavier armor used by units like Eliminators, Aggressors, Heavy Intercessors, made for carrying larger weapons and dealing with heavier punishment.
It just kind of looks like every other piece of armor. There's one image that I like of it. The image specifically is the jetpack one. Well, okay, I didn't know it was a jetpack like when I was looking at it at first, and then I was like, oh, that's like very unique. And then I looked at the model and it didn't have the jetpack, and I was like, what is happening?
Yeah, only some of them have jetpacks, and some of them are just carrying around like dual guns or a single like heavy rifle. Like I said, it's more like each unit can be kind of unique with the Mark X.
Yeah, so I really don't have much of an opinion on them, so I gave them a C.
Okay, this is actually probably, I know I said the Phobos Armor was a C, but I would probably give the Gravis Armor a C too. I'm with you on that, because this is like, we'll get into Terminator Armor in a minute, but this to me just kind of feels like half-assed Terminator Armor, and I know that's going to piss some people off, because, it does serve a different purpose. It's not as specialized as Terminator Armor, but just looking from a design standpoint and what I'd wear, it just kind of feels like, oh, this is just bulkier Tacticus Armor when I could have a sick-ass suit of Terminator Armor. So yeah, it just kind of feels redundant to me, and there's not really anything that's saving it from that. So yeah, C tier?
Yeah, that works.
Okay. Before we get into the Terminator Armor, I do just want to call out the Bladeguard Armor. This is technically a variant of Tacticus. Like on the data sheets, all of the Bladeguard units are just said to be Tacticus units, and it really is just a more fancy, ornate suit of Tacticus armor with some extra bit of detailing, a little robe, and then a cool sort of knightly crusader helmet, and of course the badass swords and shields. But if this was a distinct mark of armor, this would be my S tier. I absolutely love it. It's fantastic.
Thankfully, I don't play by your dumb rules, so I'm gonna give it an S tier.
Okay, I'll accept this rule breaking once because it benefits me. But now, like I said, Let's move into the Tactical Dreadnought, or Terminator Armor. This was developed for close quarters engagements in tight spaces, like, fighting in a Space Hulk or an enemy fortification. It's much more heavily armored, but slower and way harder to produce and operate, and is mostly used by veteran Space Marines. The first and most common type of Terminator armor is the Indomitus pattern. It was created late in the Horus Heresy to replace losses in other types of Terminator armor, has a bulldog head and round pauldrons, and there is a Crux Terminatus icon on the shoulder, said to contain a shard of the Emperor's armor. Again, this is mostly used by members of the Space Marines veteran first companies, and I just like this a lot. It is iconic, and I love it. I'm really glad they redid it in this new edition.
I think they're distinct, which is good, but the helmets are just hideous.
Wrong.
They look like malformed. Too much going on, just very ugly.
I love it. I love the little helmets. I think they look intimidating and they're ready to go to a fight. And I love how purposeful they look and how heavily armored. This to me is everything that Gravis Armor is not. So I would give these guys an A or even an A+. They are fantastic.
Yeah, I give it a B.
Do you want to meet in the middle at an A-?
B+.
Okay, I'll take that. They're doing pretty well. They're still an A+ in my heart. Moving on into Cataphractii Terminator Armor. This was the most common Terminator armor in the Horus Heresy. It had sloped broad pauldrons and a thick chest and neck armor, and those little Roman dangly things called Taruges. What do you think of it?
They look like fridges. I don't sometimes they look fine, and other times the fridge really is all I can see. I think the Taruges look very weird. I don't mind them on the in the loin area, because that's where you would usually see them, but on the shoulders is just very odd. Very boxy, and the proportions to me don't make any sense.
Well, that's 40K for you. The proportions never make any sense, but I agree with you. I think it's really weird to say this about Terminator armor, but this is one of the least sleek looking Terminator armors, and it doesn't really have a lot going for me to save it from just the fact that it does look like a walking fridge in a negative way, not walking fridge positive like we're gonna see in the last example on this list. I like the helmets, they look cool, and the pauldrons are okay, but they're not my favorite. And yeah, it's just there's not really anything saving it for me, and it's not iconic to me like some of the other patterns of Terminator armor. So, I mean, what do you want to rank it?
I would probably give it a C or maybe even a D.
I think a C. I think a D is way too harsh for what it is. Let's say a C for it.
Okay.
All right, now let's move on to the Tartaros pattern Terminator armor. This is one of the more advanced Terminator armors with the largest range of motion. It has a lot more flat and broad armor plates with some bonding studs added for strengthening, and it has a Mark IV style helmet, since the two armor types were in development at the same time. In modern day 40K, this is now incredibly rare, even more so than the previous two types of Terminator armor. And what do you think about this?
All I have written here is shittier Cataphractii armor. And I stand by that. Yeah, it's just there's one image that I think looks cool, but besides that, it's very underwhelming.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. This is the blandest, most boring Terminator armor and my least favorite. I wish they didn't make it so this was also the most advanced armor, because it looks like just absolutely nothing. There's nothing interesting about it. I already said I didn't really like the Mark IV type helm, and this doesn't do it any favors. The nicest thing I'll say about it is it can be a good blank canvas if you want to add your own ornamentation onto it, but that's not saving the basic version of it. So I'm between a D and an F. What do you think?
Yeah, I gave it a D, but I wouldn't be opposed to F.
Let's do D-. I don't hate it as much as I hate the Mark VIII armor. And now let's move on to the last and most recently introduced type of Terminator armor, the Saturnine pattern. So this has actually existed in lore for a while, and the current design is based on some older art. This is the best protection a Space Marine can get before you stuff him in a dreadnought, and it is notable for its massive pauldrons, which do house teleporters, so it allows them to advance quickly, and they do serve a use, but they are also just outrageous. It is very expensive to produce, very hard to produce as well, and is now incredibly rare. And I will say, when I first saw this, I thought this is so goofy, but now having looked at it for a while, I absolutely love it. It is just so over the top and fantastic in all the best 40k ways.
Yeah, they kind of look like tortoises.
Yeah, so they're perfect.
At first, when I was looking at these earlier, like yesterday, I was like, this just looks really dumb. But now, it's a gimmick, you know? It goes to the degree that the other ones were not going to. So I have to commend it there.
Yeah, that's how I feel actually about most 40k armors, even when you were complaining about certain things like the massive pauldrons or like in some cases, the stupid helmets. I feel like they go over the top in just like the right ways for me, and this is the perfect example of it. I just absolutely love it. So what do you think you're going to give it?
I would give it a B.
Well, you see, I still have my S tier, so I reject your grade, and I say it's S tier. S for Saturnine. This is the best Terminator armor, and one of the best Space Marine armors of all time.
It's definitely one of the Space Marine armors of all time.
The best, yes, you agree. So that was all of these Space Marine power armors. Thank you for joining me here. I had a lot of fun.
So did I.
And there are more chapter-specific variants of these armors, as well as customized relic and artificer suits. But these are all the baseline marks that we're going to be looking at. Again, we'd be here all day if we went through every single variant of Mark IV armor used by the legions, because they just could not help themselves from changing it up.
Yeah, and it's already felt like a whole day.
Well, time spent with you is never time wasted.
Okay.
Isn't she so nice? One of the more fun things about 40k is that a lot of these armors are sort of interchangeable or customizable, so you could take bits that you like from other suits and combine them together into like your ideal version, like, you know, have a Mark 10 body with a Mark 6 head and a Mark 5 pauldron and just make it your own. So I know you gave the Bladeguard armor an S tier, but other than that, what was your favorite type, do you think?
Probably the Phobos.
And do you feel like after looking through all of these, did they get a little bit more distinct as we discussed them and went along?
Like, by 1 degree, maybe. Again, I haven't spent 10 years looking at them all like you have, so...
15 years, thank you.
Okay, well, I'm sure if I, like, spent more time looking at them, it would become more obvious, but right now, like, no. They look a little more distinct than when I first saw them, but, like, they still are very much, like, all Space Marine armor, yeah.
Okay. All right, we'll get you there one day. Don't worry, we will. But yeah, I had a lot of fun with this. I am looking forward to seeing what new stuff that GW introduces. I feel like a lot of their recent armors have been really good, and I really hope that eventually GW does release some lore on what exactly happened to the mysterious Mark IX armor.
I'm banking on the Tzeentch witchcraft.
Spoken like a true Inquisitor.
Silence, heretic.
See, we're already getting her into 40k, but the Primarch and Legion ranking videos are coming. Again, just have to summarize, 20 years of lore now, more actually. But let us know what your favorite type of power armor is in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, please also like and subscribe. It really helps the channel and the YouTube algorithm. And if you want to support the channel more directly, consider becoming a member. For now, thank you and have a great day. Bye.
Smash that motherfucking like button, hit subscribe, and ring that bell. Bye.